and welcome again to yet another girl. Who don't you know? You know it's me, Marilyn Green. I am the hostess with the mostest. And you know what I do on my show? I am working to transform your mind one show at a time. And today, tonight, or whenever you're looking at this, right? And I want you to look at it. I want you to subscribe, tell your friends. I want you to do that little notification on YouTube. You know what y'all supposed to be doing. Just like it, all right? And tell a friend. But the guest that I have today, she's going to be talking about a subject that affects women, but it also affects men because directly and indirectly they are part of this. I'm going to say phenomena. Oh my God, this issue. Okay, that all women they go through and they have different ways that they go through. You probably guessed it by now. It has the words men in it for men, but it's really a woman a pause menopause. So we have her here, Dr. Renee McDermott. How are you? And welcome, welcome, welcome to my show. Okay, go forward.
Hi, Marilyn. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing, and I'm so excited to be here to talk about perimenopause and menopause and how women can, like you said, if you take the men out, how women of a certain age can survive through menopause, and even better than that, get their vitality and their energy back.
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
I
I'm
love it. I
excited.
love it. I love it. Okay, so tell me this. Okay, I know that you are a medical doctor, right? And can I call you Dr.
Yes,
Renee? Is that all right, Dr. Renee?
yes,
Okay, I know you're a
yes.
medical doctor. And what made you go and start to just really super hone in or concentrate? Was it your own experience or someone you know, or what happened? How did you get
Mm.
here to be? I'm going to tell you what she says she is. She is a health coach for menopausal and perimenopausal women as well. So how did you get here?
Okay, so that's correct. I do still practice in conventional medicine. I am an infectious disease specialist as well as internal medicine background. Now, yes, a great question. How did I get into this niche? Well, I'm in my 40s, my late 40s, and started to experience, perimenopausal symptoms. And essentially, what that means is that perimenopause, you start to see a gradual, through menopause, actually, you start to see a gradual decline in our reproductive hormones, such as our estrogen levels, our progesterone levels, and also other hormones as well, such as testosterone. And during that period of time, women can experience a various symptoms. Actually, can be anywhere from sleep disorders, difficulty sleeping, depression, anxiety, hot flashes, weight gain, bloating. I mean, you name it, it runs the gamut. And for me personally, I started to experience hot flashes. And one of the things that I always found concerning and frustrating, even as a physician, was getting the answers that I needed to not only to get at the right diagnosis for myself, what the actual root cause was for me. And when I say root cause, I mean specifically what my hormone imbalance was. And then from there, trying to repair and to essentially regulate those hormones naturally. And so that kind of sent me on the path to pursue functional medicine and to pursue actually taking courses and learning how to not only manage my own symptoms, but to also help other women. And so it's been life changing for me. And now, I'm in a position where I can actually help other women to live their best life as they age.
That's right. That's great. I love that living your best life because you really don't really start living your best life to a certain age. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yes.
like, okay. But tell me this, I know there is a definition and you kind of put it, kind of laced it within your dialogue here, but there's a definite definition for menopause. What would you
Yes.
say is the definition of menopause?
Okay, so the definition of menopause is a gradual decline in your reproductive hormones, between the ages, it starts for most women in their 40s into their 50s. Okay. And so, again, and that's a great question that you ask, because we're always hearing this menopause. And I'm thinking men, or that word men is actually in it because, quite frankly, it's very unpleasant. And a lot of the issues that we have around our reproductive system and health is somehow tied to laws or restrictions or lack of resources, which unfortunately, some of that might be tied to health disparities, but most of it is tied to resources and governed, by, again, laws that a lot of times women have not created, right? But that's a whole other
That
topic.
is, that
So,
is.
like I said, it's essentially the decline of your reproductive hormones. Some women might experience menopause even earlier than that. Some in their 20s or 30s, and that they call premature ovarian failure. Other women might also experience what we call surgical menopause, and that can be at any age again, if they have, for example, a hysterectomy, right, or the removal of their ovaries. And so there are a lot of different ways and different paths to reaching that menopausal phase, but it essentially is all the same, right? It's when your reproductive hormones are gradually declining, which essentially means your ovaries are not producing them in the way that they should anymore,
Oh
right?
wow. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I think about menopause, and I mean, I've heard ladies talk about they got symptoms and signs, and you know how we always try to put on Google, because everybody go to Google, what the
Yes.
symptoms and the signs are without before they go to the doctor or whatever. But what are some of the, if you will, cardinal signs? What are the signs or the symptoms that say yes, you are really getting to the point where you're perimenopausal or menopausal? What are the signs and the symptoms for that?
Right. One of the signs, when it's particularly in the perimenopausal stage, is irregular periods.
Mm-hmm.
Your menses tends to not only be irregular, but they can be very heavy. And a lot of women will often complain that they're soaking through their clothes. It becomes unbearable just from the simple fact that they're having more, sometimes even more frequent bleeding and heavier bleeding.
Hmm.
Uh, Other women might experience a big mood shift. And there's a saying, menopause, brings out the me in me. And, a lot of people become very intolerant of things that they usually would be able to tolerate, maybe a little disagreement, or just a change in their work schedule is enough to set them off. So
Wow.
for some, it might be the issue with irregular and heavy menses. Other women, it might be a difference or a huge shift in their mood. Some women might notice that they are a little bit more melancholic or even depressed. Some women start to experience anxiety. Sleep disorder is also a big component of the perimenopause into the menopausal full menopause phase, and frequent awakenings at night, and that typically is due to the fact that that's when you have a lot of fluctuations with your hormones. That is,
Oh,
in the middle of the night, and when you start to transition from having higher progesterone levels to lower progesterone levels, which is the first phase, then you have that difference between your estrogen level and your progesterone level.
oh,
And that is one of the causes for, it's not the only cause, but it's one of the reasons why women might also experience those frequent awakenings at night. And of course, the dreaded weight gain, the bloating,
oh,
all of those symptoms, they vary from women to women, and the list is even longer than that. Those that I've described are just some,
wow.
right? And Another important component of perimenopause and menopause is what are the hormones are involved, right?
Mm.
So we all know about estrogen and progesterone,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not all. There are five crucial hormones that is vital to not only giving attention to, but actually um, making sure that you're addressing it during the
Mm-hmm.
menopausal phase. And that is estrogen and progesterone, which we mentioned, testosterone, cortisol, and your thyroid hormones. We don't talk about that enough, I think, in the healthcare system and how it relates to perimenopause and menopause. But it's not as simple as estrogen and progesterone.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important that women know what the root causes of their hormone imbalance, and that involves and encompasses all of those hormones that I mentioned.
Wow. But now you said estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol. What was the last one?
Thyroid
Thyroid. I
hormone.
was getting ready to
Hmm.
go there. So,
Hmm.
Dr. Renee, based on what you told me and all the information, the great, super good information that you gave us, wow. It is difficult to figure out that you are in a cycle of perimenopause and menopause, wouldn't you say? Because
Hmm.
you might just be eating a lot and weight gain. You might be not getting enough water and bloating, right? You may have I'm just not sleeping well. It's how I mean, how do you know? The only one I see that you really can start to say, something's up, is irregular menses and
Right.
the frequent bleeding or the flow or stuff. But all these other things, the mood change, I just might be mad. Okay. How do
Exactly.
you get women, in your practice to come to, as we talk about the root cause? How do you get there? Is there an assess? What do you do? How will you figure me out? Okay, I got my own stuff,
Right.
right?
Right, right. You make a really good point. It is very difficult, and for women to actually know. And part of the issue is that they pick up on these little things, but they don't quite know what's going on. Some it's a little easier if they have hot flashes,
Okay.
because that is a big giveaway for some. The minute you start to experience the sweats at night, the sweats at random times in the middle of winter, anywhere, anyhow, that's usually a red flag. But for a lot of women, that's not necessarily what the symptom that they have initially. So one of the things that I would say for women in their usually in their mid 40s, around 45, as you get older, again, some it might be a little bit earlier. If there are differences in your mood, you have the inability to lose weight no matter what you do, those are signs that you might be heading in the direction of menopause. If you're having trouble sleeping, any of the symptoms that I mentioned, those are symptoms that might not just be you having a bad day or a bad month. It might be that you're in the very beginning phases of menopause. And the quicker you get a hold of it, the more you are able to control that narrative, right? You're able to control the way that you go into menopause. You're able to find, hopefully, the root cause. And to your question was, well, how do I help other women? How do they know and how are they coming to me?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of the women that I see, they have already, at least been in the process of menopause for 2 to 3 years already,
Okay.
some even longer.
Mm-hmm.
And they come to me when those symptoms get unbearable. They're not sleeping well. They have continuous weight gain no matter what they do. They have mood changes and fatigue, joint pain, all of these symptoms that quite honestly become unbearable. And so that is one of the reasons why, a lot of women, the women that I see come to me, they get to the point where they can no longer tolerate it and they just want answers. And for many of us, it's weight gain that really pushes us off the ledge.
It's
The
like,
scale
that's
keeps
it.
on going up, right? Yes. And you're like,
That's
okay,
it.
this is not
This is
okay.
not okay. I tell people like this, Dr. Renee, I like my clothes, okay? And my clothes
Exactly.
is just a little bit too close to me now, meaning that they're a little bit
Exactly.
too tight. So it's
Exactly.
like, I need to create a space between me and my clothes that I like. Yeah, the weight gain thing will really, really get you. I think the bloating as well. You just don't just
Oh, yes.
bloated. You just don't feel good. You just don't
It's
feel
not
good,
good.
you know. And you may be
Mhm.
always hydrated, but you're still bloating.
Right.
So
Right.
it to me,
Right.
it's just like a wow. You just don't know. Now you spoke about something here, and I'm looking through my notes that
Mhm.
you talked about functional function.
Functional medicine.
Yes, yes. Tell us about that, and how do you integrate that into your practice?
Yes. So functional medicine is essentially a merge combination of conventional medicine with what we would consider non-conventional herbal naturopathic medicine. And what we do when we're looking, in the functional medicine realm, that is,
Hmm.
we are looking at the entire body, pathophysiology, how each system works together, right? Kind of like an
Right.
orchestra.
Hmm.
And essentially, when we are trying to solve the problem, whether it's perimenopause or menopause or any other, abnormality that's going on in the body, you want to be able to look from the top to the bottom. And functional medicine essentially does that. It's a comprehensive look at what is going wrong from birth to your current history, what is actually going wrong internally, and how do we, reverse that damage, or and if it can be completely reversed, how do we stop or prevent things from progressing, right? So it's about catching the disease state, hopefully before it gets there. And if you're in a disease state, trying to reverse that naturally.
Right.
And which obviously doesn't, involve prescription medications, right?
Okay. Okay.
It would be through lifestyle changes and supplements. And when we're talking about perimenopause and menopause, that might also include bioidentical hormones,
Okay. All right. Okay.
which is different from hormone replacement
Okay.
therapy.
So but basically, you're looking at the wholeness of a woman, right? You're
Yes.
looking at everything because when you mentioned the one thing about the thyroid, it's the little bitty member, we know, in the the thyroid is right here, you know what I'm saying,
Yes.
and how it affects women, and it's all this stuff right here. I'm telling you, Dr. Renee, is that man, it is hard. I mean, I'm not a doctor. Don't play one on TV or none of that, right? But
Right.
I'm
Right.
just saying
Yes.
that that's a lot. And so when women are coming to you, like you
Yes.
said, they're in a desperate stage. It's unbearable. They can't take it anymore. And when I think
Yes.
about that, and you talked about the depression part, because I'm a big advocate of mental health is wealth,
Right.
right? So is there a part or where they come to where they are dealing with some of the cytals, the suicidals, the things of that nature? Have you ever experienced that with someone telling you about they might be suicidal or have suicidal ideation? How do you handle that one?
I have not had the experience of one of my clients being having such severe symptoms where
Hmm.
they're thinking about committing suicide. Thank God.
Yes.
But certainly, I have had clients who have had felt down, down, which is unlike their natural personality. And one of the wonderful things about working with these women, and like you said, doing a comprehensive look, is that I'm able to see whether or not there are neurotransmitters
Oh,
that are off balance.
wow.
If they're a little bit lower, the way that our body breaks, anything down, right? A lot of that comes through our urine. And one of the ways that you can pick up on things is by checking your urine to see how hormones, neurotransmitters, and all of these different things are broken down because they have to leave the body somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they leave through the stool, they leave through the urine, and that is one of the ways that we look at all of these things to try to help women, for example, that might be experiencing depression and anxiety. You're able to see how they're metabolizing things, and you're able to kind of tell, okay, are they overproducing? Are they underproducing? Is it an absorption issue? And then you're kind of, able to have, say, possible root causes for how they're feeling and take the next step to actually deal with it, right?
Okay. So I know that you are a doctor and I know that you do have a practice, but I'll just say for myself, if I wanted to go to my doctor and say, look, I looked at girl who don't you know, and Dr. Renee was on there and she was talking about stuff in my urine, stuff in my stool. I mean, can I say, okay, what kind of questions how can I approach my doctor to say, hey, I really do need maybe to get tested in that area. To me, and I mean nothing against you, but doctors are not doctors. They so busy. They got so many clients. This is not like the 1920s where they come to your house,
Right,
deliver your baby, and they know everybody. It's not that. Okay.
right,
So
right.
you have to really be health literate, right? Somewhat. Not saying that you know how to
Yes,
change the oil in the car. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, but you know that the
yes,
oil needs to be changed, right? So
yes.
what are they can take some of this information or some of the questions, that they need to
Hmm.
ask their doctor. Help us out. What should they be asking?
Yes. Great question. And I love that you are speaking on this and the fact that women need to advocate for themselves.
Hmm.
So, yes, the things that they should be asking their doctor is to check those hormones that we mentioned: testosterone, cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, thyroid. Okay, that's a good place to start. I do think that it's important to say that you're seeing a snapshot of what's going on in the blood, but you're not seeing the entire picture,
Hmm.
right? And so it should be enough to at least get people on the right track with getting an idea of what's going wrong in their body. And then the next step, once you have that information, then you can pursue lifestyle changes and other methods that might be helpful to improving your overall health, quite frankly, and hopefully having that process and that phase into menopause be a little bit smoother.
That's good. And that kind of talks to getting ahead of this menopause, right?
Right,
Just getting
right.
ahead of it. And all of it goes back to health literacy. It all goes back to you being your best advocate or you voting for yourself, if you will,
Yes,
to say, I have got to find this out because it's really wrecking your life in a way. It really is
yes.
wrecking your life. And not
If you
just
let
your
it,
family, but people out at the grocery store, you might just get mad. Okay, the people on the, you know what I'm saying?
yes,
Everybody's being affected by something that perhaps you may not know, but this information today should help you to go to your doctor and
right,
start to ask the serious questions about what's really going on with my body. What's
right.
going on? I need to get I need to get control because your body just goes out of control and just goes whack and just start doing whatever it wants to do because all those hormones need to be, and I use the word nice
Yes,
cousins. They need to get along, right? They need to be working
exactly.
together. And that's what Dr. Renee is talking about. You got to ask those questions so that your doctor can help you to get them all together. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So let me ask this. You're an African American woman. I'm African American. We Black women, whatever you need to call us. Is women of color. Okay, what type of things do they face Do we have some different problems more than likely? Can you talk on that a
Yes.
little bit about access to care, some of the health resources that we don't have and we do need? Can you speak on that, Dr. Renee?
Yes. So yes, great question, and I think it's so important for women of color to listen to their bodies and to advocate for themselves, because there, of course, there is health disparities, right?
Hmm.
So statistically, people of color in general tend to not have adequate resources, their connection to care, and getting, what I would consider, optimal care compared to, uh, you know, white people or Caucasians is different.
Hmm.
And for women, statistically, 50% of women and that's Black women when I'm referring to, that statistically, when we look at Black women compared to white women, about 50% are experiencing hot flashes and more severe symptoms, and they're even experiencing them a little bit earlier. And one of the reasons for that is because Black women have a longer period of time where they are exposed to trauma, right? Both internal and external.
Mm.
Racism is included in that, workforce pressure, um, all of the pressures that we all know comes with being a woman of color. And that has a greater impact on Black women because when your stress levels are up for a higher period of time over time, what happens is that you are always working that stress organ, right, which is the adrenal gland.
Hmm.
And so, what happens over time is that that gland gets to the point where when you hit your 40s and your 50s, it's like, hey, I'm checking out. I'm exhausted. I can't do this work anymore to, deal with your stress levels up and down. It becomes exhausted. And so when we hit that menopausal phase, when the ovaries start to not perform like they were, right? They start to not be able to produce hormones at a certain rate. They start to shut down on you. The adrenal glands are supposed to be your backup. They're
Oh.
supposed to take over some of that work to making your sex hormones, right? Hopefully at higher levels. However, in Black women, that is a much harder hill to climb because we have a lot more stress over time, which weighs on your adrenal gland, which again, if that is not working at its optimal, um, right, its optimal function,
Hmm.
then how is that going to help you to go into your menopausal phase smoothly, right?
Wow.
And so that's part of the reasons why Black women tend to have, um, tend to shift into menopause a little bit early and tend to have worse symptoms for longer,
Oh, wow. That,
the more severe symptoms for longer. That's not all Black women, but statistically it's higher.
I love that, Dr. Renee. That's a whole nother conversation too. It is.
Right.
It really is because
It
I have
is.
never ever. I'm not saying I heard everything. I have never heard it put like that. As far as the reason why women of
Yes.
color, the trauma, the what is that? The adrenal glands, and and all that, and how it's supposed to kick in almost like another battery or something, right? And it does not kick in. If it kicks in, it's kicking low functioning kick in. You know what I'm saying? And so that
Hmm.
adds to it. Wow. Now that's some good news right there. I mean, good bad news, you know what I'm saying? But
Right, right.
it's still it is still some good news. So yeah, I think I got another question here for you. Okay, so tell me, you are expanding your health coach business. How are you
Right.
doing? Are you virtual? Uh
Yes.
right. And so when we put this out here and stuff, I'm gonna have to ask you, how can people get in contact with you? I know we got an email here and all that. So I like to find that out, and I will make sure that it gets on the screen because I am sure once people hear this, they're gonna say, "Well, hey, I've been to this doctor, that doctor, everybody, everywhere." Okay, but I just
Right.
can't get it together. But listening to you, and you're sounding, I mean, you are knowledgeable, but you put a different spin on this thing, Dr. Renee, than I've ever heard. I've
Yeah.
ever heard. So we're going to talk about this. So I know that you're expanding your health coach business, which is going to be available nationally and international. And also, you said something about a digital resource manual. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yes. So, yes, you're correct in everything you just said. I am expanding. It's virtual, so pretty much anyone has access to me. And the coming in 2025, I am, will be working on a digital resource manual, and that will be all encompassing for perimenopause and menopausal women to kind of give them steps to get the answers they seek for their root cause and for their particular imbalance,
Mm-hmm.
but to also kind of walk them through a 30-day, I would say, kind of like a cheat sheet on how to not only get your hormone imbalance, but even your gut health,
Oh, wow.
balance, because that is crucial to your hormone imbalance. So it's going to be packed with useful information, and really the point of it is to be a guide for a lot of women to get questions answered, and to try to have a good background and overview for what to do to optimize their health.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We had to talk about that offline, and and see how we can I can help you with that launch or whatever, but I like
Yeah.
that. So we are almost out of time to listen to this. Okay. You wrote on here about so people know I asked my guest to fill out a form, and on here she wrote, I asked them for one or two positive messages, and she wrote on here, menopause is not the end. It is an opportunity to transform into a brand new you by finding the root cause of your issue and making it your mission to take back control of your body. As we go out today, tell us a little bit what made you write that as something, a positive message. You're trying to say is hope?
Oh, yes, there's hope.
Okay.
Yes. I've, done it for myself, and I'm doing it for other people. And, I feel so good for where I am, and it is possible to get your body back. It really is. And it just means that you have to invest in yourself the way that you do in your job and your family and your loved ones. Take your life back and invest in yourself, invest in your health, and it is possible to feel better than you ever have. It really is.
Wow, that's good. I like that. Dr. Renee, this has certainly been a treat. And I'm so happy you came on. I'm so happy I met you.
Aw. Yes,
I'm
me
I'm
too.
so happy I met you, and boy, this has really been really good and informative. And I'm serious about us talking offline and you coming back on,
Yes,
and let's just keep this conversation going and put
yes,
do a deeper dive. And one thing
yes,
that's gonna really help you, as you go through this journey. If
yeah,
you're a woman and you're living, you're gonna go through something like this. Because your body, even though
yes,
we're in control, it's our body, but our body be in control of us. And what you're
yeah,
saying is like your body is
yes.
taking
You,
over. And I'm like,
yes, you got to take the control back.
you got to
Yep.
take your control back. But hey, it's been really, really a pleasure, and I
Me too.
appreciate you greatly. So I really
Thank
do.
you
So,
so much.
so let me just say this at the end. You guys have been listening to Girl, Who Don't You Know? And I had that dynamic Dr. Renee McDermott on here talking about menopause. But hey, you guys, I need you to like, subscribe, do that little bell. You all know what to do, okay? But until next time, we appreciate you greatly. And guess what? This show is all about transforming your mind one show at a time. Take care and bye bye.